What is up, y'all? This is the History Zone podcast with Zane Rossler, and we got a short but pretty interesting episode today. It is June 30th, which marks the end of Pride Month, a time for the LGBT community to embrace who they are without having to live in the shadows in fear. To wrap up Pride Month, I want to talk about the shadows that have historically plagued the gay community. These shadows involve a Halloween party in 1950s Charleston that ended up in murder. This incident became known as the Candlestick Murder. Let's dive into it a little. We'll start in 1958 Charleston. There was a 29-year-old named Jack Dobbins. Dobbins was a single man who worked as a chemical executive and lived with a roommate named Edwin Odie, and they had a maid named Elizabeth Bryant. Dobbins was known as a charming man with a peculiar taste in art and furniture. These qualities would be brought up after one night on King Street. One place that Dobbins also worked at was a bar called Club 49. Club 49 was an establishment that catered to a mixed crowd of both straight and gay members, making it one of the few safe havens for gay men to more easily socialize and mingle with far less fear of being socially ostracized. One Halloween night, Dobbins was serving beers to a patron named John Mahon, an 18-year-old airman living on the nearby Air Force Base. Editor's notes: halfway through recording, I realized Mahan was actually pronounced Mahan, so sorry for the constant mispronunciation. The two started to befriend each other and started bar hopping before arriving at Dobbins' house on Queen Street. It was there where, according to Mahan, Dobbins had tried making a move on him. Mahan responded by grabbing a candlestick and beating Dobbins in the head. Thinking that he rendered Dobbins unconscious, Mahan fled back to the base where he admitted to his friends that he had beaten up a queer. The next morning, Elizabeth Bryant came to do her regular duties in Dobbins' house. She then discovered Dobbins bludgeoned and bloody. He was dead. The news reported that a murder took place on Queen Street. The police initially suspected that the roommate Edwin Odie did it. Mahan realized the severity of his actions and confessed to the killing, saying it was self-defense against unwanted advances. Once details of the murder got out, there were many stories that shaped the narrative. Newspapers and reports portrayed Mahan as a clean-cut and respectable airman. Meanwhile, Dobbins was portrayed as a perverted man with no girlfriend. His choice of outfits and taste in art and design was used to lead readers to the conclusion that he was a suspicious gay man. Not only did they say he was gay, but his lifestyle was a threat to the masculinity associated with the U.S. Armed Forces. They did not mention that Dobbins himself was an airman in the Korean War. Public opinion quickly turned to Mahan's favor. With all this slanted media, the trial was a foregone conclusion. The trial took place in December of that year. Within a matter of hours, Mahan was found not guilty. The LGBT community of Charleston reacted with shock and horror. The fact that Mahan was able to kill a gay man by saying he aggressively pursued him signaled to people that gay men were sick and dangerous. I should also mention that this took place in the shadow of the Lavender Scare that painted gay and lesbian citizens as national security threats and communist pawns. Charleston's LGBT community started living in more fear than they were used to, angry over what they deemed an injustice. I know this sounds like a bummer, but I wanted to highlight this story. I not only wanted to show why pride is necessary, I also wanted to tell a story that shows there existed a gay subculture in a city of what seems as a very conservative and religious state. I hope you enjoyed this story, and I hope to see you next time. The History Zone podcast with Zane Rosser was made possible thanks to the Downtown Library of Columbia, South Carolina.